Alright, this is the one Gandora Forever 2.0 deck profile, full review, letting you know how the mechanics of this deck works. So off the bat, Eater of Millions, basically to banish cards. The entire mechanic of this deck is to send cards to the graveyard and send cards to the banish zone. So this card, you have to banish 5 or more cards from your hands, field, and or extra deck face down. And you get to summon him. And then whenever you attack, a monster or your opponent's monster, you have the option to, banish it face down. So it's a good monster removal plus banish card. I try to keep it to 1 because it can be pretty brick sometimes. Useless, basically. So 3 maxis just to get that max power. Super, ultra, okay. And then I got 3 Grand Maju Diaizas. Basically the staple of this deck, because when you banish everything, it basically opens him up, for crazy attack points and OTKs. And then we have 1 Ash Blossom, negate. Sometimes helpful, sometimes brick. And then 3 Necrofaces. Purpose of Necroface is to be banished, so it could activate the effect and banish 5 cards more, including your opponents. That works well when you're trying to feed Gandora and your Majus. Then we have 1 Summoner Monk, sacrifice your spell card. You go into an Armageddon Knight. You summon Armageddon Knight and you send Gizmeki to the graveyard. Gizmeki is a staple of the deck too, along with Snow. And yeah, so it's basically Maju, Necroface, Snow, and Gizmeki, along with, Gandora put as a support as well. Everything else is just feeding to get these cards, in their proper place. Waving Buster, just because you have a lot of dark cards and you easily get, an extra monster on the field in case you need to go into like either a level 4 or, a Link 4, Link 3, whatever you want to do. Snow, is amazing. If you activate green and Snow goes in there, you have like 20 plus cards. If your opponent is playing a 40 card deck, automatically in the graveyard at least. Depends on, how much the opponent plays and so forth. And also, whenever it's summoned, you get to turn an opponent's monster face down. So, pretty nuts card. You can use the effect unlimited times once you have material to burn. So, definitely a staple of this deck. So glad that they unbanned it. And then Radan, the multi-dimensional kaiju, basically for removals, and he's a dark monster, so remove Herald of Ultimateness with this card, and then you activate a Super Palm, go into a Venom Dragon. That's a good way to get rid of the Herald's deck, so you won't get negated. Especially if you have Lava Golem and they have 2 cards like Apollosia and Herald. You summon this bad boy and, does the work for you. It pays itself right there. Then we have, an optional Blackluster Soldier. It's just because, I have the option to summon him because of Chaos. I used to rock a Chaos Emperor Dragon, but I just didn't have space anymore, because I even dropped one of the Gandoras because I figured, this is basically a dead weight card, and I don't really get to use Gandora's, first, second, third effect as much, mostly for the high attack power OTK I go for. but he's the main star of this deck. Man, if Gandora X was not banned, he would even be the most powerful card right now. Cause look at that, 3+ different Gandora cards in your graveyard. Banish all other cards on the field and in the graveyards. My goodness, attack power insane. Favorite card. Now we go to Danger Bigfoot. Like when people try to Ash Blossom, it doesn't affect the Danger group, so they just waste their Ash Blossom, and then you just use it again and either summon it or and draw a card or activate its other effects. Same with Thunderbird. Then we go to Gizmeki. You have to use this guy pretty right because you're milling cards to banishment to feed your your 2 main stars. Actually, it's 3 main stars. Don't forget about Topologic. He gets a boost for every banished monster. So they all work in sync. Then we have a Raigeki to destroy, a Harpy's Feather Duster to get rid of all back row. Monster Reborn to rebirth my Maju or even Gandora or whatever. Foolish Burial, send Gizmeki to the graveyard or Snow or whatever. Reasoning, just to send stuff to the graveyard. Gold Sarcophagus, mostly to send Necroface to banish and activate its effect. And hopefully, 2 other Necrofaces get banished to activate that effect, and a total of like 30 cards banished on both on both players' sides total. So that's quick, Gandora power, Maju power, Topologic power. Then we have an instant fusion. We go into the Thousand Eyes restrict monster removal. Plus, you could use it as a material to go into a Union carrier to get a Gizmeki onto the field. Once it goes to the graveyard, you just bring him to the field and start the process of this deck mechanic. Then we have trade-ins. You got a bunch of level 8s. Always good to trade in. Lure of Darkness, mostly for dark monsters, but go for the Necroface when and at all times. 1 Day of Peace, just because. Pot of Desires, banish 10 cards, get 2 or more. This is like, what else can you want? Banish 10, that's what you have a Maju that's 400 times 10, that's 4,000 attack. And Gandora will have 3,000 attack. So, 2 turns, 2 of these, that's 6,000 and freaking 8,000 or whatever. The math is on that. And then grass looks greener. Sent to the graveyard. Activate these guys' effects. Definitely an opener. If you have it open, definitely the first card to be playing. If it comes later on, you have Monk, Summoner Monk, you just activate Monk's effect. Use this as material. DDR. So for all that shit you're banishing, you might banish a Maju, and you want it back, so a DDR is to bring it back from that dimension. Soul Absorption, since you're banishing, might as well gain the upper hand in life points. And Super Palm, going to your Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Use the Kaiju to summon on your opponent's side. Use it as material, all that good stuff. Twin Twister, if you need to send your Gandora, because that's a brick card, really. Send it to the graveyard, destroy 2 back row. Or, just, I think if you discard these, it activates other effects as well, yeah, if I recall. And then Called by the Grave, for those, Blossom moments, and, I'm guessing Veilers and all that. So just, stop the negation. Then Banquet of Millions, when you see your opponent's about to summon, from the extra deck, you just activate and skip basically one turn for them. You sacrifice your extra deck, but this deck doesn't rely on the extra deck. Then we go into the monster removal. Thousand Eye Restrict, only applicable with instant fusion. The Venom Dragon, any 2 dark monsters with a Super Palm. 39 Utopia to go into a Lightning in case you need to attack your opponent and not have effects activate during the battle phase. 101 to take a monster away, but this is optional. Exiting Knight to clear the field. 39, just explained it. A number 62 to do approximately 5,600 worth of damage in case I need a beater. And then I could go into an arsenal in case. A number 38 for, spell cards and try to get that a negate. Nightmare Phoenix to get rid of the back row as needed. A Wee Witch to get a dark monster from the graveyard like my Gandora. A Union Carrier to, link my Gizmeki. And then have it go to the graveyard and, start the milling process. A Blackluster Soldier just because. Topological Zoroboros, just because the 200 for each banished card. And, an optional Axis Code Talker. I might replace this later. But there you go. That's the deck mechanics of Gandora Forever 2.0.